Okay, rounding to decimal places, fairly straightforward. It's very essential to be able to do this properly, otherwise your answers will be wrong when you're asked to do them to a certain number of decimal places, so this is what we need to consider. Firstly, we're going to look at this example, and we're going to round it to 2 decimal places. So what does that mean? How do we do this? Right, so the first thing we need to do is count from the decimal point 2 figures to the right every time. Okay, now the 4 is the last one position we're going to write down. It might change depending on the rules and the decider, but we're going to look at that in a minute. So remember, that's the last thing you will write down once you've made your decision. So I'm going to put a little arrow to that just to remind me. Okay, the next thing to look at is the decider. Now that's that number there, it's the 6 here. You see that? So what we need to do is just put a little thing there, but you don't need to do this when you're in an exam, but it helps just for your notes. Right, that's your decider number. We take that and we look at these 2 statements, okay? Right, if that number, the decider, is 4 or below, then we round down. That doesn't actually mean down, it means you keep the number the same. It's very important to get this right. A lot of people would change the 4 to a 3 in a situation where it was lower in this, but it isn't anyway because it's 6, so forget that now. The example we've got is a 6 decider, which is a 5 or above. It fits this category here, which means we round up, and then we actually do what it says and actually add another increment or another number to this. So what we're going to be left with is 3.5. Instead of a 4, it's a 5 because we're rounding up, and nothing after that. No zeros, nothing. You just leave it. Okay. So that's basically this number to 2 decimal places. Right, we're going to do another example now. We're going to do 1 decimal place on this one here, and it's the same process. We just have to apply the same rules, but just set it over to 1 decimal place rather than 2. So here's what we do. First of all, we know it's 1 from decimal point there, so let's put a little tag in there to remind us it's the last one. And then that's our decider. Now unfortunately that's the same as the last one, so it's not as interesting as we thought. That means we're looking at this 6 here to try and decide. So with the decider rule here, it's still 5 or above, so we need to increase the last number that we're going to represent by 1. So put that in there. That's going to be 3.6. Nothing after it, which is the whole point. Okay, on this last one, we're going to do this one here. We're going to do 3 decimal places just to see a situation where it's not above 5. Okay, so first thing to do is for 3 dp, let's write that in. 3 decimal places. We locate a decimal point there and we count 1, 2, 3 and then mark very carefully the 5 as it is in this case, and our decider is going to be 3. Okay, so we look down at the rule again, or you probably know it by now, and we know that 3 is 4 or below, therefore we round down, which is basically just keeping this number here the same. So what we end up with is 3.595 and nothing else. Okay, so that is that number, this number here, to 3 decimal places.